Recent studies have found that a lower proportion of people who are from Black, Asian, minority ethnic communities have taken up the offer of a coronavirus vaccine.
And to try to address those concerns and dispel some of the myths around about the jab, for the first time in British media history, all the major commercial TV channels will simultaneously broadcast a video message featuring a number of celebrities. It takes place this evening. Let's have a look.
The vaccine does not contain the virus itself, only harmless elements from it.
Taking the vaccine is the only way to boost your immunity against COVID for you and your loved ones.
The vaccine was available quickly because of a global effort.
Because huge funds were made available by governments around the world.
So something that would normally take years took just months.
It's very, very rare for vaccines to have a long-term side effect. But what we do know is that COVID-19's long-term implications are deadly.
The COVID-19 vaccines have gone through the same strict processes and regulations as other vaccines, such as for measles, mumps, rubella and TB.
There is no chip or tracker in the vaccine to keep watching where you go. Your mobile phone actually does a much better job of that.
Pregnant women are not excluded from the vaccine, but should discuss their case with a doctor.
There's also no evidence to suggest the vaccine affects fertility.
We can talk now to Romesh Ranganathan, who we saw just in that clip. Morning, and we saw we're going to talk to Dr. Farzana Hussain, who's a GP in East London. Good morning to you too. Romesh, lovely to have you with us on the programme. Tell us, why is this so important to you? Because I know your mum, I do watch the Ranganathan, I know your mum had some hesitancy when it came to the vaccination because of just stuff she was hearing.
Yeah, well, my mum's a key worker, and where she works, it's a lot of people from South Asian backgrounds. And so my brother and I were obviously very worried about her. And then we just assumed that she was going to be willing and ready to take the vaccine. And then when it came down to us actually discussing it with her, she said, I've actually got some doubts. And so it took us by surprise, but we sort of were able to talk to her about it and explain the various issues. And now she feels okay to take it. But it just feels so heartbreaking to me that people from ethnic minorities are sort of inflicting a degree of separation upon themselves from not trusting in this. And I understand all the reasons why. I've heard all the arguments, but I just feel so strongly that we need to make sure we dispel some of these myths so that people are getting involved and we can get ourselves out of this pandemic.
Well, let's talk about dispelling some of these myths, because I can only imagine my frustration I would have trying to explain this clearly to someone who's listened to a lot of it's a nonsense or rumours that are flying around. Dr. Farzana Hussain, how is it best? I mean, you can explain it, that's your job, but how is it best for, say, family members to explain to reluctant older family members or those who just say, you know what, I'm not buying into it?
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's great to see Romesh. I loved his show with his mum. I feel like I know her.
Don't we all?
We all know her. Like Romesh, I feel really strongly about this because we do know that, sadly, COVID affects our ethnic minorities so much more. You're far at risk of dying. So I think it is about everybody giving the message, and there's nothing more powerful than your own family and friends giving that message. So locally where I work in Newham, yes, of course, I'm giving the message, but we've trained some, our public health, our council have trained up to 87 community COVID champions. They're members of our community who can answer a lot of the sort of top 10 questions, and they're spreading this message to family and friends. So I think that's really important. I think having this campaign with our wonderful celebrities all coming out, I think that's really important. I think we need to give messages at all levels from all of us.
Romesh, as a comedian celebrity, you know, your whole brand is being a funny guy on TV. Did you have any hesitancy yourself about appearing in something like this, which is inevitably quite serious, it's difficult, and might get you some pushback on social media, that kind of thing?
Well, I mean, as a comedian, pushback on social media is sort of part of the job description, really. But, you know, I'll be honest with you, the only, not hesitancy I had, but the only thing I thought was I tend to be quite, you know, cynical about celebrities and people sort of getting involved in things like this, because you sort of think, well, you don't know any more than I do. And I understand that. But the truth is, I'm so worried and so concerned that people from minority backgrounds are not doing this, that I just thought, well, what can I do, you know? And so I hope this does make a difference. And so that was kind of the only reason I thought, well, is this the right thing to do? But then I thought, well, I'm either going to do this or do nothing. And I think it's a really important message to get out there. Anything I can do to help do that, I'm going to be up for.
Farzana, we spoke to you on breakfast on Saturday morning and you were telling us about how you were literally picking up the phone and calling some of your patients who didn't want to come in and get the vaccine. And you were saying that there was still a lot of people refusing. Has it improved over the last few days? Have you noticed a shift? Is the kind of message that Romesh is getting out there getting across?
Not hugely, sadly. I know it's still early days, and I think that's why it's so important to keep repeating the message. And I love what Romesh just said. I mean, I've got an 18-year-old son, and I mean, he would never take a message from me or a doctor. But when I told him that I was going to be on TV with Romesh, he was so excited about it. And I think that's the thing. I think we obviously have a place as doctors, but I think everybody has a place. And I think this message is going to be a long, hard one. As Dr. Nikki Kanani, our GP leader, has said, recently, we're fighting two pandemics here. We're fighting the COVID virus, but we're also fighting this huge tsunami of misinformation that's coming out.
I love the way it takes 18 years in Romesh Ranganathan for a doctor, a GP, an established woman to get any street cred in her own house. Yeah. Romesh, listen, the conversation, I mean, you obviously have a good relationship with your brother and your mother, so you were able to sit down and have a decent, understanding conversation. What tips would you have? I mean, I did ask Dr. Hussain this as well. It's so easy. I mean, I know from when I've spoken to my parents about various things to become frustrated and to almost try to bully people into doing this, and that's just not going to work. What tips would you have if there are families watching now from any background who think, I need to have this conversation, but I just don't know how to go about it, and they won't see a GP?
Well, look, the truth is what you said is absolutely right, is that because you're so concerned, and my brother and I had the same thing, we were so worried about our mum that your instinct is to go, well, this is ridiculous that you're feeling like this. But I think actually, from my point of view and how we tackled it, is we sat down with my mum over Zoom once we got her to get it to work, and talked her through what her concerns were. We said, what are the reasons you're hesitating? And we looked at it together. And together sort of helped dispel those for her. And so it was very much, we were coming at it from a supportive way. And I do understand where my mum's coming from. I don't think it's ridiculous she has these concerns, but at the same time, they aren't correct. And so it was just a matter of sitting down, taking the time with her to talk about it, and not just go, this is ridiculous that you're feeling like this. I understand that you're feeling like this. Let's look at it together. And so I felt like when she was ready to take the vaccine, she felt much more secure with her decision,
OK, well, both, thanks so much for talking to us on breakfast this morning. Romesh, we look forward to seeing that film tonight. And Farzana, you can now go and tell your son that you've just been doing a quick call with Romesh and have instant cred.
Yeah, there you go.
See the headlines as they happen and watch BBC News live in the app and get the full story with bbc.co.uk/news. Follow the story for all the latest with BBC News.